Quarterback rankings are about to drop across the NFL landscape, and we're set to have the same exact conversations about Joe Burrow once again. So in this video, I'm going to set the record straight and tell you what really matters. Hi again, Bengals fans. John Sheeran of A to Z Sports Cincinnati here, and we are on the precipice of rankings season. The time of year where literally nothing is happening and everyone is trying to grab your attention and get you mad about how your favorite players stack up against other players. And I plan on and I hope that this is the first and last time I ever discuss Joe Burrow and quarterback rankings. Because my take on this topic has not really changed ever since the 2021 season when Joe Burrow first established himself as a high-quality quarterback. It was, of course, during that season that Burrow first proved that he was good enough to take the Bengals to a Super Bowl. Like, even looking back 4 years later, I still can't quite wrap my head around how quickly the Bengals progressed from the Andy Dalton era of just making the playoffs and losing in the first round to making the Super Bowl with their next quarterback. And of course, when talking about quarterback rankings from a Bengals lens, Dalton's name is naturally going to be involved. Even if you weren't a Bengals fan in the prime of Andy Dalton's career in the mid-2010s, you knew his involvement and just the overall perception of who he was in quarterback rankings. Instead of the Mendoza line, it was quite literally called the Dalton line, where if you were above said Dalton line, you were considered to be a quality franchise quarterback, and if you were below it, well, there's always the next draft, right? And this encapsulated the Bengals so perfectly as a team that would just be good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to do anything once they were there. And Dalton was the quarterback equivalent. He was good enough to carry a good team around him to the playoffs, but not good enough to do anything meaningful with it. And this has been the foundation of where I point people who are upset about where Joe Burrow finds himself in the latest quarterback rankings. If you are used to a quarterback who has the dictionary definition of average, and you end up having a quarterback who is miles above that, you would just take that 10 times out of 10, and you wouldn't argue about the semantics and the nuances of where he is compared to the 31 other starters in the league. But of course, when you have a guy like Joe Burrow, you don't just want to look at him as a franchise quarterback, you want to look at him as one of the very best quarterbacks in the NFL, period. And this is where the dialogue is. It's no longer about the Bengals having an average quarterback, which is the topic of conversation as to whether or not they should keep him or let him go. It's about whether or not Joe Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or just any one of them. And my definitive, honest-to-God take on this is that it doesn't matter one iota. Joe Burrow can be ranked your first best quarterback, your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth, your sixth, your seventh, your eighth, whatever place in the top, let's say 8, that he falls in compared to how you evaluate quarterbacks, what you value, what you prioritize, what you ding quarterbacks the most of, wherever he lands in your overall criteria, so long as he's in that top 8 or 10. Because at any given time, there's only about 8 or 10 quarterbacks that you look at and say, yes, this guy can lead any team to not only just appearing in a Super Bowl, but winning a Super Bowl. So long as Burrow is in that definitive tier of quarterbacks, all is good in the world. I frankly do not care what outlet or what analyst has Burrow better than the other elite quarterbacks in the NFL if you're just doing a 1 to 32 type ranking. And you shouldn't care either, because again, so long as he's good enough to hoist a Lombardi trophy for the first time in Bengals history, you shouldn't care at all if he's better than Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert or whoever you want to throw in at any given moment. And I could sit here for an hour and give you a deep dive analysis about how Burrow is better at specific qualities of being a quarterback than any of the quarterbacks that I just mentioned. But I don't have to do that. We know he's arguably the most accurate quarterback in the league. We know he is elite in the pocket. We know he's got above average movement skills. We know he's got incredible anticipation. We know he's a wizard both in the pre-snap and the post-snap phase. How other writers and analysts value that when they put together their rankings that are designed to get you mad is irrelevant. The only relevancy here is how well his elite attributes translate to winning on the football field. And clearly, over the past 4 years, they translate a lot. And the true value of having a quarterback who belongs in this tier is that any given meeting between two of them, each of them is equally capable of besting the other. Like, there is a very safe consensus that has both Mahomes and Allen ranked ahead of Burrow in their quarterback rankings, despite the season that Burrow just had. But you cannot deny the fact that when Burrow has faced both of those guys, more times than not, he's outplayed them or at least played on par with them. And is that not all that matters? When you're in these high leverage games, whether it's late in the season or you're in the playoffs and a trip to the Super Bowl is on the line, playing better than the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, that is required to getting to that next step. And the Bengals know that they have a guy that any given week can play like the best quarterback in the league and can play better than the other best quarterbacks. Even if over a 17-game sample size, he may not be the best, he belongs in the conversation. And again, That is the only thing that matters. So if you're looking for a take or an argument about where Burrow belongs in a 1 to 32 quarterback ranking, I'm not your guy. Because quite frankly, I think it's a waste of everyone's breath to argue about where a guy ranks compared to his peers when everyone knows he's good enough to do what every quarterback sets out to do every single season. The Bengals can legitimately win a Super Bowl with and because of Burrow. And if that's not good enough for you and your agendas, I'm not sure what is.